Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Would you want to live the same life over and over again 100 times over? What do you want to make out of your life? Who do you want to be? Look, life is short. You got what you got, and you really have to go for your own. And nothing will change unless you change. Guys, I'm helping men make that change at my intensive retreats in San Diego, California. Go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and be a part of a program that is transforming men's lives into the most powerful version of themselves. Again, that's kfmretreat.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Jairek Robbins, a decorated performance coach and lifestyle entrepreneur. At the age of 23, he was awarded the Congressional Award Gold Medal by the U.S. Congress, and at age 25, gained international renown as the creator of a revolutionary approach to maximizing personal performance. He's also the author of Live It, Achieve Success with Purpose. Jairek, happy to have you here on the show.
Good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And now let's dive in, as always, with a favorite success quote, just to jumpstart right in. Something that you've lived by. Share with us what you got.
I guess one of my favorite quotes is life supports that which supports life. So the more you find a way to support those around you, the more life will support you in the process and in your journey.
Okay. How has this played a role on your journey, on where you've been?
It's something that every time I've consistently found a way to support or give to or serve more than just myself, our results have always gone through the roof. For our business, so the first thing we did is figured out a contribution goal we could do that's bigger than the year before. So we decided to fundraise and donate $10,000 to build a school in rural China. And what's interesting, if you look at our numbers last year, they grew tremendously. This year, we decided to expand even more. So we partnered up with a different organization, and the donation that's needed is $25,000. So, 2.5 times what we did last year. And if you look at our numbers thus far, I mean, the month-to-month numbers that we're bringing in this year are trumping multiple months of what we did last year.
Wow.
And so my thought is the more we focus on how we're going to use the resources coming in to serve much more than just ourselves, the more resources will continuously be sent our way.
Yeah, I've heard this before. I think it was Elon Musk. It was like, if you want to solve a problem, like solve a bigger problem, and there's more resources when you're trying to solve something bigger.
There is. People talk about trying to make $1 million, and he's like, well, if you can find a way to help 1 million people, the $1 million will be easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so was that school built? Or was that in progress?
Yep. The one in China is already built. The one this year is being funded right now.
Nice. Are you working through Pencils Promise?
This year's Pencils of Promise. Last year was Change Heroes.
Got it. Yeah, I just recently had Adam Braun here on the show. Really love what he's doing. Let's dive in now with, quite the intro here. Starting at such a young age, it's just incredible. I love seeing that. Let's take a few steps back and share with us your story of how you got started with what you do.
Cool. So one thing you mentioned in the intro that it catches people's attention is the Congressional Award Gold Medal. People many times mistake that for a congressional gold medal, which is not the case. I didn't get shot at in war. I didn't save the country. They give about one of those a year, if that, maybe. And people who have them are like Abe Lincoln and, Mother Teresa, like freaking. Okay. Those people have that medal. Right. My medal is something that about 116 kids a year basically get. And it's something you have to earn. You're not given this medal. Like, you don't magically get awarded it for doing nothing. You have to earn it. So the reason I always bring it up, especially when we're talking to a younger audience, is from the very beginning, not in the very, very beginning. I'll give you a rewind. Before 15 years old, dude, I was your everyday, sloppy, all over the place kind of kid. Like, my heroes at like 15 were Biggie Smalls and Puff Daddy, because they had a really cool music video at the time called Hypnotized that was out. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So my goals in life were to be like a professional basketball player, possibly a surfer, and to make a lot of money, ride around in helicopters and yachts, and like hang out with hot girls. Like that was it.
At least he had goals.
Exactly. And the truth is, at 15, hot girls didn't even matter. I remember like one night, it was Friday night, and I was going to sleep, and the phone rang at like 10 o'clock, and I had basketball in the morning, and it was some girl. She was like, "Hey, do you want to come to a party?" I'm like, "Are you crazy? I have basketball in the morning." And I hung up on her. I think 3 years later, I was like praying someone would freaking call like that. But it's one of those moments in life where obviously I had my priorities straight. Basketball, that was it. That's all that mattered.
Right.
Now, right around 15 years old, I remember sitting down and hearing all these people listening to like personal development programs. And I grew up in the industry. So my very first seminar was in my mom's belly. She was getting her NLP Master Practitioner certificate from my godfather, John Grinder. And so I always tease people and say through osmosis, I had to pick something up. But I grew up around all these people going to seminars, reading books, listening to tapes. And I remember there was this really specific tape set that everyone was telling me like, oh, it changed my life. It changed my life. You know, I have this amazing relationship. I made tons of money. It changed my health. I was like, really? I don't know. Like a lot of people say that, but I don't know. I want to test it myself. So I remember taking this tape set and putting it in and listening to it and just doing what it said. And I just applied everything. Like I wrote down the goals. I answered the questions. I did the actions. I just did everything it said step by step by step. And that year, my life started to transform legitimately. Like I was 5'9", 225 pounds. And all of a sudden the next year I started playing sports. I started running, and all of a sudden I slimmed down. And I was also in puberty. So I grew, but I grew and then also dropped a bunch of weight all at the same time. And I was like, wow. And all of a sudden I dropped from 225 down to like 185. And I'm like, wow, I lost a bunch of weight, felt a lot healthier. And then I went from like a B and C student to a straight A student. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then, you know, I just felt happier. I felt more successful. I felt more fulfilled. I felt more emotionally like in charge of my life. I had confidence in who I was because I was proud of what I was accomplishing at that moment. And so like these things started to change all because I found a program I believed in. I used it, tested it, applied it, and it worked. So I took that concept of goal setting and creating the life I wanted and envisioning future results. And I said, where else does this apply? And I started using it from that point forward, moving forward, figuring out how to really get the results I wanted. And it worked in just about every category of life. Now, what ended up happening if you fast forward, I started working and I worked at my dad's nonprofit as my very first job. And I worked there while I was going to school. So that was like my part-time job on the side. And I love nonprofits. Love. It's my heart and soul. It's what I love just about life is giving back, finding a way to make a difference and help out. The part I didn't love is being that my role models at the time were like Biggie Smalls and Puff Daddy. You don't make that kind of money in a nonprofit. Right. So I was a bit frustrated. I'm like, okay, I'm going to help the world, but I kind of want to have a cool life too. Like, I don't want to just live in a tiny apartment by myself because that's all I can afford. But hey, I helped everybody else. That doesn't seem right. And I was like, if I'm helping so much, like I should be able to have a cool life too. So I remember sitting down and being like, well, I sat in the office and I looked across the courtyard and there was the for-profit side of the business on the other side. And I remember I just strolled across one day and I knocked on the door of the coaching department and I was like, hey, what do you guys do? And I happened to be friends with the person who was in charge of it at the time. And she was like, oh, you know, I run the coaches and here's what they do and here's how it works, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, really? Could I do that? And I remember her being like, well, if you know the material, you can, but let's test you. And they gave me a test and I actually passed it with 100%. I knew everything. And they're like, wow, you know, so we have to build you up. We have to really train you how to do this properly. And then we have to test and make sure you can really deliver based on client results. So they put me in, they tested it out, they gave me a shot, and I literally crushed it. And they were like, wow, you're doing awesome. Congratulations. Let's go ahead and ramp you up. So they ramped me up into the coaching department, you know, part-time because I was still in school. So I stopped working in the nonprofit, started working as a coach. Fast forward, I coached all the way through college. I think some of my favorite moments were one time I was taking a class in psychology, and I literally had a psychology professor from Cornell sign up as a coaching client of mine based on performance and results and mindset. So I was learning their class of actual psychology, but they were taking my class on how to perform even more effectively day to day. It was pretty cool. It was a compliment. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's incredible. What is this coaching program that you're working for? This coaching company?
So that coaching company was my dad's company, probably the number one on earth right now, but it's Robbins Research International if you want to Google them. They trained me. I think I had 250 hours of training through them to be qualified as the coach. And then they had ongoing training every single month in the process. So I worked with them for 6 years as a coach, and I loved the process. Coached probably over 1,000 clients over that 6 years, worked with tons of people in every walk of life. But the one thing that they were very, very good at is they would never let any of their coaches coach on something that they absolutely weren't mastering in their own life. So at the time, the skill sets I coached on was productivity, calendar management, and health and emotions. That's it. So any client I got, those were the areas they were trying to improve in, because those are the ones I had mastered at this stage of my life. Now, from there, about 6 years into working with them, a couple years on the road in sales, I sat down and I'm like, I've been learning all this business technical skills of how to start and run and manage and market a business. I wonder if they work. So I sat down in the front den of a house I was living in. I was working about 3 jobs, just making a good living, having fun, 24 years old. And at 24 years old, I decided to set up my very first company. I took a skill set that I had 6 years of application in called coaching, and I wrapped an online business model around it of how to sell and draw in new clients. And in the first 8 months, it generated over $100,000 in revenue. And for 24 years old, living in the front den of a house, to be able to quit 3 jobs and only have one self-made business that generates $100,000 in 8 months, that was killing it in life. So at that point, I'm like, I'm winning, totally awesome. And honestly, I was living in a house with 3 roommates in Hillcrest at the time. So I was like, hey, you know what? This is cool. I have enough money to move out. I can go live on the beach. I could have the life I want. I could do what I want to do. I could be what I want to be. This was rad. Now, I'd also learned at that point, it was a really smart idea to always have at least 6 months of your bills, or 6 months of what it takes, your cost of living, saved before making any growth transitions as far as more cost. So the first thing I did when I made the 100 grand was I stashed away 6 months of what my rent was going to be, what my car payment would be, what my insurance would be, what my food bills would be. I stashed away 6 months of savings of cash in the bank prior to upgrading my living situation and prior to upgrading to get a new car and all that jazz. It's a big mistake most young guys make, is they want to jump up and upgrade their lifestyle before they upgrade or have enough savings set aside to actually provide for themselves in case something goes wrong. So first is protection, and then second is investment. So then you invest enough to where your passive income makes you the money you need to pay those bills, then upgrade. So I jumped forward, got a place on the beach, was living right in Mission Beach where you're at, loving life, having fun. And the next couple of years there, we're figuring out how to grow my business, how to automate my business, and how to get it to a place where I could be working just a few hours a week and making $100,000+ a year, really relaxing, enjoying my life, and just having a ton of fun. And I did. It took me about 3 years till I got it to a point where literally, I think I was working 15 clients, maybe 30 hours a month, and I was generating $150,000+ a year in revenue.
Incredible.
Yeah, 25, 26 years old, living on the beach, working 30 hours a month. So 30 divided by 4, that's only 9 hours
like
a week.
8 hours or so, 7.5
so I had about
hours.
8 client calls a week, and that was it. And I created this lifestyle-based business that was all about relaxing and enjoying my life. So my average day, wake up, go for a run on the beach, do my incantations, do some meditation, coach 3 or 4 clients on a busy day, then go to the gym and work out, lift weights, go to yoga, go hang out with my friends. That was it. So I was living like the ultimate beach bum lifestyle on a great salary while delivering high quality service to my clients.
Right. And is this still kind of performance coaching on your own with your own company? Is that what you're doing now? Okay.
Yeah, I am. And the model's changed. So I'm on my 6th year now. So after about 4 years of that model, I figured it was fun. I had what I wanted, which was a totally free lifestyle. And I had the ability to, coach anywhere on earth. At that point, I had coached people in performance coaching from a jungle, table in Costa Rica via FaceTime. I had coached people on a cruise ship via cell phone while I was cruising through Europe and Central and South America and just hanging out. I'd coached people while living in Europe and Asia, everywhere. So I had literally lived and traveled all over the world and just ran my business anywhere I could from a laptop and a cell phone. Awesome. So for most young guys, I was dominating life at that point and I loved it. And I had produced a result that in this industry was phenomenal. The average coach financially only made about $40,000 a year in their coaching business. So when I had made 100,000 in my first 8 months, I had produced an outstanding result, something that stood out from the rest. So I was also getting hired to come speak at coaching conferences all over the world to share with other coaches how I was able to produce so much revenue so fast. So that was an awesome perk too, is I was getting paid to fly all over the world and speak to people. Fast forward a couple more years, recently this last September, I got married. We decided to move to Florida for tax reasons because we're going to grow our businesses.
Well, congratulations on the married and smart move for the taxes.
Thank you. And at the same time, though, we wanted to then expand from a coaching practice where it's me delivering coaching to people to a coaching business. And then from one coaching business, we wanted to start building out a series of businesses around it. And the difference between a business and a practice is a practice, if you're not there practicing, it doesn't work. So if I'm not here coaching, this business doesn't work at the moment. And we're fixing that right now. We're automating it and creating different coaches for us so that they're coaching on behalf of me, so that regardless if I'm here or not, this business still runs productively itself, if not better, when I'm around. And that's the goal. So one big shift for young entrepreneurs is most young entrepreneurs start off as sole practitioners of their business, meaning they're sole proprietor. If they're not there, it doesn't work. And you want to create the mindset from the beginning of setting it up in a way that ideally it's going to work better when you're not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of young people are picking up on that concept because people are talking about it. But then when you get under the hood of their business and really look at it, they're not doing it very well. So you get in there and they start off with the plan and the concept and the idea, but then the execution is horrible. And now they say, next year, I'm going to go ahead and automate myself out of this. And then the year after, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Pretty soon, they're 40, 50, 60 years old, and they're still stuck in their same business.
Right there. How do you help someone who has the plan, they have the vision, but they can't execute on what they've created for themselves?
Got it. So execution is everything. One of my favorite people on the topic is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
And he smashes people on this concept.
Literally.
Because people like to say, Gary, I've got this $1 million idea. If you sign this NDA, I'll tell you what it is because I don't want you to steal it from me. And Gary literally just laughs in their face. And he's like, $1 million idea. Ha! He's like, that doesn't mean shit. He's like, I hate to break it to you, but $1 million idea ain't worth anything if you can't execute. Now, if you can execute, it's worth everything. And so how do you execute? It really comes down to the ability to literally get yourself to consistently follow through with action every day, day in and day out. Because you meet people who have a plan. They know what to do. They know I need to file this paperwork, get this done, put up this website, accomplish these goals, attract these clients, use this marketing funnel. They know all of it. They know every step they need to take. But today, in this moment right now, how much of it are they accomplishing?
Yeah.
And that's where you start to get the stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have enough time today. I was too busy. Well, you don't understand. My person I paid to do that for me, they couldn't get it done today because they were busy. Well, I don't have enough money to actually have it done the way I want. Well, they come up with every freaking excuse in the book you could imagine they'll come up with and tell you that's the reason why they can't do it. And the truth is, those stories are the only reason they don't have what they want. Because if you give up the story and you just get committed to making progress, like, you know what? I might not have the perfect website, but I'm going to get a website up today, now.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump on Wix. I'm going to throw up a stupid little website. It ain't going to be pretty, but it's going to be effective.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. So how I got myself into motion, if you want to know some insight, when I first started, I had every excuse in the book. I had a great company, got great benefits, had a steady job, guaranteed clients forever. I had every story of why not to quit and why to just stick with what I was doing. But I sat down, and the first thing you got to do is you got to link up massive pain to doing what you're doing and massive pleasure to actually following through on the dream and the goals and the vision of what you want. Now, that's overly simplistic, but most people, again, don't apply. So this is all about application. You write down on paper, what are all the painful consequences of not taking action right now? And most people write down little shitty reasons like, oh, I will feel bad about myself. That doesn't mean anything. You want to stir up real, deep, dark, scary, creepy, ugly emotion. You want to stir up the real stuff. Like, you know what? If I don't take action right now, my mom or my dad or my uncle or my grandma or my aunt or my best friend or whoever the heck told me this, but they're going to be right on the fact that I'm not going to turn into anything in my life. Oh, that's ugly. That's not fun to look at. That's not pretty to hear, but that's so deep and that's so real that you'll see someone like their eyes will light up with just pissed off passion at that moment. And that is something that'll spark the initial, I got to do something about this. Now, at the same moment, once you spark enough negative emotion that gets you fired up and sparked and like, excited on the inside, you need to layer on some positive and pleasurable results you're going to achieve when you do take action. So what does that mean? Pen and paper has to be on paper. You write it down. Here is what's going to happen in my life when I do take action right now. And you have to write down exactly what's going to happen in your life when you decide to take action now. And again, people write down these horrible little reasons. I'm going to get my goals. That doesn't mean anything. You got to write down something intrinsic, something deep, something purposeful, like something. I mean, if you feel this way, awesome. If not, find the way you do feel. But some people out there, if you meet them, they're like, you know what? I'm going to follow through on this goal right now of reaching 1 million people. Why? Because that's what God made me to do. That's my mission on earth. That's what I was made for. There's nothing on earth that's more important to me right now than making this happen. I said, wow, shit, that guy's going to get it done. Versus someone who's, I'm going to hit my goals and I'd be very proud of myself. That will not fire you up. That will not emotionally move you. This has to be emotional. So how you want to think of pain and pleasure? Pleasure is gasoline. Now, if you think of yourself as a high-octane race car that's going to go race the Monaco Grand Prix, or you're going to go race the Indy 500 or a NASCAR or whatever, if you're going to go race one of those races, you need a lot of gasoline to keep you going for the long distance journey you're about to go on, lap after lap after lap. Now, if you've ever watched that Fast and the Furious movie, there's that little nitrous oxide or NOS button they push on their car that gives them this crazy boost of energy, but it's for a short period of time. That's what pain is. Pain is like your NOS button. You press that pain, it pisses you off and frustrates you so much that it sparks you with this immediate crazy burst of energy. But your gasoline is what keeps you going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully this makes sense.
Yeah. So the key is to be consistent, and you can give someone a breakthrough and they might hit that NOS button, but it may only last for a short period of time. But how do you get someone to actually stay consistent and fall in love with hard work?
Got it. So the first piece of that is you have to anchor in these long-term pleasurable experiences they're going to have. According to ex-Navy SEAL Mark Devine, who talks about, he's from SEAL Fit there in San Diego, but he talks about mental toughness. He said one thing that's going to create mental toughness in someone is having an intrinsic goal, not an extrinsic goal. So one big challenge young guys face is young guys have a lot of extrinsic goals. I want to climb this mountain because I want to prove to myself that it's possible. I want to climb this mountain so that I can make some money. I want to climb this mountain, and climb the mountain is just a metaphor for accomplish this goal. They're trying to prove to themselves what they're capable of, and they're not doing it for an intrinsic reason. They're doing it for an external result. Does that make sense? Yeah. So how you keep someone motivated in the long term is you help them start to define intrinsic or internal reasons why they're committed to following through. And the more reasons you can help them find that are bigger and greater than just themselves, the better, because it adds more emotional fuel to who they are and what they're doing. A simple example of that, if you Google Team Hoyt and watch the video of the father that pushes and pulls and tows his son through races, it's amazing. That's an intrinsic reason. It's to give his son a better life. That reason will cause him to continue to push through pain when everyone else quits, when everyone else gives up. I mean, think about this. How many guys even listening to this, how many of you out there think right now, if I said, okay, race begins now, you could complete an Ironman competition, meaning a 2.5 mile swim, a 100-mile bike ride, and then a 26.2 mile run back to back to back? Well, I'm guessing because they don't have a voice, but I don't hear a lot of people speaking up. I'm guessing there might be one or two out there who's crazy enough that they can just mentally force themselves to do it. But for the most people out there, even with the training, most of them will quit. How do you know that? Watch the race statistics. People drop out like flies, like 20-year-old, 30-year-old guys, healthy, young, fit, active individuals, can't even complete the race. They just give up because they get tired and they're mentally weak. Versus, how the hell does this guy who's 60-something years old pushing, pulling, and towing his son, again, a 2.5 mile swim with a harness on, towing his 110-pound son in a raft behind him? He gets off that, he picks up his son, runs him to the bike, puts him on like one of those child seats in the front of the bike, belts him in, jumps on the bike, and now rides his bike with his own body weight and his 110-pound son on the bike through the 100-mile bike race. then gets off it, puts him in one of those push running wheelchairs, and then pushes his son through a 26.2 mile foot race. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it's insane. Team
It's
Hoyt?
insane. Team Hoyt.
Okay.
They've done over 1,000 races.
Oh, yeah.
They've done hundreds of triathlons. They've competed in the Ironman multiple times. And then people have the excuse of like, oh, yeah, I know. Maybe they get leeway on their race time so they can take longer than everybody else. And that's how they do it. Bullshit. They're 30 minutes off the world record pace for the Boston Marathon.
So what's driving Team Hoyt?
The intrinsic feeling. And it all comes down to with the very first race they ever went on, which was the little 5K race in, I think, high school. And when they got home, the son told the dad, I feel like a normal human being, like I'm not disabled when we're racing. And that's all the dad needed to hear to have an intrinsic reason to say, wow, I want my son to experience the thrill of feeling alive and normal. And he does when we race. So therefore, he's been able to push, pull, and tow his son through thousands of races over the years. And he continues to do it even when in his 60s. I think he's 70 now. So his son's in his 50s and he's in his 70s, and they continue to still do it because of that one reason.
Wow.
So when you find a reason like that in your life, you could only imagine how much you'll be able to accomplish based on the fact that you have that deep reason why that drives you to keep going when everyone else quits, gives up, and, you know, tries something new because it got too hard.
How do you find that reason? Like, is this a self-discovery process? Is this about really finding out who you are?
So my thought is there's lots of people who talk about this, and then you hear people struggling because they're like, I just can't find my why.
Right, yeah.
Like, oh boy, you need to get punched in the face. Besides a punch in the face that can help motivate you. The other piece of how you discover this is my thought is don't just look for one. Look for many and allow certain ones to stand out over time. So what does that mean? Every day, come up with 5 more reasons of why you're doing what you're doing today and keep adding to that list. And if you did that every day, I mean, 365 times 5, 5, I don't know. Hold on. Give me a second. That'd be 1,825 reasons you'd come up with per year of why you're doing what you're doing. Now, I'm guessing out of 1,825 reasons over a year, you'd find at least 5 that drove you enough to be like that level Team Hoyt's at. So if you just came up with 5 new reasons per day, every day for a year, I guarantee you will find your reason. But what most people do is they come up with like 3 once, one day and go, it's just not it. I don't know. So again, it comes down to massive action in this case. Write down 5 brand new reasons why you're doing what you're doing every day for a year. I guarantee you'll run across at least 1, if not 5 or 10, that continually drive you at that level.
And does this have anything to do with like really thinking big? You talk about in your book, focusing on the majors, focusing on what is really most important in life. Like, I think oftentimes we spend a lot of our time and energy and money on things that really just don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Got it. There's a tricky part about this because when I say something doesn't matter, it might matter to you. Being a grand wizard, 14th level, supercharged person in the world of Warcraft might really matter to you. And for me to be like,
I was like, where is he going with this?
Yeah, for me to be like, that doesn't matter is unfair because it does matter to you. But the key is, if I were to ask you, how much of a difference is that going to make 55 years from now in your life? I think we can both agree, not much. Unless your whole business is based around that, or somehow you make a living from it, or somehow you're a world champion at it, or you get sponsorships. Like, I don't know. Unless there's something wrapped around it that's really important to your life, I doubt earning your 150 secret level badge on Medal of Honor is going to get you anything in life. So these things are important in the moment. But if you step back out of the forest and look at the whole picture of life and say, what's the most important parts of my life that if I don't focus on 65 years from now, they are going to matter a lot. Meaning if I don't focus on these things and I don't master them, I'm kind of screwed in the long run of my life. So the first thing to focus on is obviously your health. Now, most of you go, duh, I get it. And what you have to comb through and say, how do I really treat my body? How do I treat this temple that I was made to live in that houses my soul and my spirit and who I am? Do you really treat it well? Do you really take care of it to the best of your ability? Or do you feed crap to it all day long, beat it up, tear it apart, and then hope that it's supposed to somehow survive and thrive over the years? So this very first thing is, you got to take measurement and take count of how you're actually treating your physical health. I was hanging out with Elliot Hulse a few weeks ago when we interviewed him. He was shaking his head. He's like, so many young guys specifically don't take care of themselves and think that their body is going to be this like strong, healthy fortress their whole life when they beat it up and tear it apart from the inside out at such a young age. And things that tear it apart, alcohol, drugs, eating crap food, physically beating yourself up and not taking care of yourself, all these things. So the first thing you got to focus on is, how do I become the healthiest, strongest version of my physical self? The next piece you're going to want to focus on that matters, emotionally. How do you master your emotions? How do you become someone that no matter what happens in your life, you are in complete control of your emotions? Meaning, if you want to feel confident, you know what to do to feel confident. You want to feel excited, you know what to do to feel excited. You want to follow through on something, you know how to create enough emotional intensity inside that drives yourself to action physically every day. Like, you got to master your emotions. Now, the really bad part in life is most people, honestly, are completely reactionary to their emotions. Meaning most people don't even realize that they reach for all these escapes, whether that's reaching for food, reaching for television, reaching for a distraction, reaching for drugs, reaching for whatever. They're reaching for these things because they haven't figured out how to master their emotions. They get nervous, they get stressed out, they get tense, they get frustrated, and immediately they reach for something to solve it instead of learning how to actually transition their own personal emotional state. So that's an area you want to master. Just to highlight the next ones and not go deep in them, You're probably going to want to master relationships. One of the biggest regrets of the dying, when you look at that article written by the 5 Regrets of the Dying, which was a hospice nurse, and one of the 5 regrets of the dying were people wish they would have spent more time with the people they cared about. So you got to master your relationships. How do you have world-class, phenomenal relationships with other people, friends, family, anybody? Next, intimate relationship. How do you actually find the person to spend your life with? This is a whole different topic, which my wife and I have a blog on. It's helpmefindlove.net. But this is a whole topic for young people trying to figure out, like, how in the world does this work? And the one tip I can give you is, if you go to a relationship to get anything, to get attention, to get affection, to get sex, to get companionship, to get someone to spend time with, if you go there to get anything, eventually you will drain it. It'll be empty and you have to go somewhere else looking for it. Versus when you go to a relationship to give to it, it'll never run out because it's your mission to always continuously give to it, and it'll be your passion in life to fill it up always. Moving forward, you're going to need to figure out what to do with your professional life. This will make a big difference in the long term of what you achieve and where you go. Your financial life, you're going to have to figure out. And finally, your spiritual life. What does that mean to you, and how do you really live in that area? So I always say those are the majors. Now, everything else that's going on, a lot of times just becomes a big distraction that keep us from focusing on what's most important. So in the beginning as an entrepreneur, in the beginning as a young person, you have to focus on the majors of your life, and you have to learn how to master these categories. And when I say master, if you read that book by Malcolm Gladwell, it means 10,000 hours of focus and application.
And what are the minors that people distract themselves with? Common examples.
I mean, to be honest, it's anything that distracts you from focusing on the majors. So the most common: gambling, drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, television, anything that's distracting you from being your best self. And, I remember going to college, and I used to go to bed at like 10 p.m. on a Friday night because I wanted to wake up at 6 a.m. and I wanted to master my freaking life. And yeah, I remember going to bed and hearing like Little High Heels clicking down the street and hallways and stuff, and being like, man, there's a bunch of hot girls out there. It could be fun to stay up till 4 a.m. and try to, find a hot girl to hang out with. And I was like, but I want, this amazing life. I want that more. I want that more than momentary pleasure. And this is another thing you're going to want to be addicted to, is you want to be addicted to fulfilling activities, not just pleasurable activities. Pleasurable things are things that feel good in the moment, but they don't last. Fulfilling things are things that feel good in the moment and last. The equivalent would be going to the bar with the guys, picking up a hot chick, and then going home and having sex is pleasurable. But the next morning when you wake up, it's not like, oh my God, it's so fulfilling. I'm so glad we did that. It's so incredible. They have words that describe the next morning, the walk of shame, all of these terms they use because you did something that was pleasurable but not fulfilling. Versus if you were to wake up at 6 a.m, go volunteer on a local school project, helping repaint a local church or school, the next day you don't wake up going, oh my God, what did I do? You wake up being like, wow, I'm really freaking proud of that. That's cool. Check it out what we did yesterday. And you want to tell everyone about it. You're excited about it. And so you want to look for things that are more fulfilling in your life, not just pleasurable.
Yeah. Okay. When we focus on the majors, is it we aren't doing what we can do there because we link more pain to the majors than we do pleasure?
Partially, because most of the time someone's out of shape, meaning they're not in the shape they want to be in, or they're not as healthy as they want to be. A lot of times people link up pain to like, I don't want to go exercise. Why? It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. People stare at me like I don't feel like going to the damn gym. I'm just going to go eat Cheetos and fucking play a video game.
And that is more pleasurable than pain because it's instant gratification.
Instant gratification. It's pleasurable, but it's not fulfilling.
Yeah. Okay.
Versus when you link up fulfillment to the gym, like, wow, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to be strong mentally and emotionally. Who knows? Maybe I'm inspiring someone else. Maybe, I'm proving to myself what's possible. When you start to find these fulfilling reasons why you're doing it, again, 5 reasons a day. If you come up with them, you'll do it. But if you came up with 5 new reasons a day of why you're going to work out, you'll go work out every day. Pretty soon, you'll be in the best shape of your life. And you'll be like, damn, everyone's got to feel this way at least sometime in their life because this feels amazing. And how do you know that? Go to the gym and talk to the dude or, the chick who's all ripped out, who's work out because they love it and they're passionate about it. You want to find someone who's also doing it for healthy reasons because there's other people who work out for unhealthy reasons, just like people don't work out. So you want to find someone who's really doing it in a healthy mental and emotional way and talk to them about how good health feels. And they'll tell you, like, there's nothing that feels as good as being as healthy as humanly possible. Nothing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I like that. And now, Jairek, let's dive into something I call the knowledge round. Just going to ask you some rapid fire questions here, kind of a last part of the show here. So, Jairek, are you ready for the knowledge round?
Let's do it.
All right.
We were all born completely unique. Your DNA has never occurred in the past and will never occur again in the future. This fact makes you unique, and there's a purpose behind this. There's a reason behind all of this. You have some great purpose that you need to fulfill for being here. And it's a shame if that purpose never comes alive and it goes into the graveyard, the richest land in the world. Don't let that be you. Create the life of your dreams, break through and reach your full potential. Check out how my retreats can transform your life and light a fire inside of you to go after your dreams and become the best man that you can be. Go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and apply. Again, that's kfmretreat.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
All right. First question I have here is, what advice would you give to someone who is feeling lost?
2, 1, showtime.
So all that happens in post. And the first question I have for you, Gary, would you give to someone who is feeling lost or unsure of what they should do with their life?
Got it. Make a list of 100 different options of things that you love to do. Then cross-reference all those different pieces and figure out what's the commonality between them, and then figure out how you can get paid to do that. Another way to think about this, if you flip it around, what would you pay to go do right now? Like, would you pay to go on vacation? Would you pay to go to a movie? Would you pay to go learn a new skill or to travel somewhere to do something fun? Awesome. Now, if you would pay to do that, second question, how can you arrange the situation so that it's free for you to go partake in those activities? Third, how can you set it up so that you actually get paid from doing those things?
I love it. And Jairek, what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
What was holding me back? Honestly, I was doing it for other people's reasons in the beginning. So I wasn't doing it because I really wanted it. I was doing it because I thought it's what my dad wanted me to do and what my grandma wanted me to do and what my mom wanted me to do. So I had to figure out at some point, we read about this in our book, we wrote a whole chapter on it, but how to find the authentic you and make sure that everything you're doing is for your reasons and no one else's.
Wow, that's very powerful. And when you made that shift, what happened in your business?
Everything changed. It became about, it's me for me. I'm doing these things because I believe in it. And in the beginning, it was just about me and the fact that I'm like, wow, I'm living life for me, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. And eventually it became about so much more than just me. It became about serving others and paying it forward and helping build schools and helping contribute and helping make a difference. And what really changed is I stopped second guessing myself. I stopped being like, oh, is this the right thing or the wrong thing? Do you think this will, I don't know, is this going to help me become more? I don't know. All that uncertainty, all that like queasiness and really just unsettling feelings on the inside disappeared immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Very powerful. And 3 most influential books, Jairek, and why?
The Alchemist. It's just an awesome story that reminds you everything you're looking for, you already have. And that journey in life is going to be a fun adventure, but eventually you'll circle right back to the most important parts. Amazing Development of Men by Alison Armstrong. Amazing book to understand the different stages that men go through. And when you can understand these stages, it helps you properly to prepare for how to maximize where you're at and how to prepare for the next stage you're going to go into eventually. Third, Think and Grow Rich. This simple book on just the power of your thoughts. Oh, actually, I'll switch that out. Instead of Think and Grow Rich, A Man's Search for Meaning. Amazing book. A gentleman who lived through the Holocaust and wrote about how the fact that anything that happens in your life, whatever meaning you associate to it is how you're going to feel about it. And how he can go through a horrific experience but still feel amazing because of the meaning he gives it.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl, just classic book, highly recommend. Scenario here for you, not a question. Jairek, imagine you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do and what would you tell him not to do?
I'd say do everything you're about to do because it works.
All right, classic.
I would, like I said, I was that 20-year-old kid that went to bed at 10 p.m., got up at 6 in the morning, ate 6 meals a day, veggies, fish, and salad, didn't drink, didn't party, was on track. I was intense back then. I mean, maybe I would tell myself like, hey, enjoy the process. It's a lot more fun than you think. Because I was really serious about it at that point in my life. So maybe relax and enjoy it a little.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I was like a anal, retentive, intense 20-year-old.
When did that shift? When did you start to shift into something else, into where you are now? What was the catalyst?
A more relaxed version?
Yeah.
Probably around like 23, right before I decided to go and start my own company. I don't remember a specific moment, but I remember that year, like looking at the results I had and being like, wow, it's working. I guess where I really relaxed actually is that first year when I'd hit the 6-figure mark in my business and I'm like, oh my God, it's working. I remember I went and I had partnered with someone and I was signing up like 1 or 2 clients a day. And all of a sudden we went out and we did a seminar and we signed up 20 coaching clients in one day. And I remember I made $20,000 that day and just sitting there with a smile on my face and being like, oh my God, it's going to turn out okay. And all of a sudden, for some reason, like I just relaxed and I was like, wow, okay, it works. This is cool. I was like, oh.
You get like kind of take a deep breath.
Yeah, I think I was really nervous up until that point, like not knowing if it was actually going to work in life. And I think after I hit that milestone, I was like, oh my God, it's going to work. I could relax a little. Like I could enjoy this more. When
you say it works, are you talking about personal development?
The fact of like having my own business, doing it on my own, all that jazz. I was nervous. Like, I don't know. Can I get clients? Can I have a business? Can I grow it? Can I live off of the income I'm going to create through it? Like, is it going to be enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I know the feeling. And now just to kind of reflect back on, let's say where you were in basketball, just grinding, waking up early, eating, doing everything right, to where you are now. And in that journey in between then, like, what would you say, you know, even if you have to summarize some of the things you said earlier, like your philosophy on life and success?
So a handful of things. Number one, application is everything. You can know all the best things in the world, and if you don't do them consistently, they don't mean beans. And so that was a huge lesson along the way. Hence why our book's titled Live It. Like,
yeah.
I knew it ever since I was a kid because I grew up around this stuff. I knew all of it. Like, I knew what to do. I knew what to say. I knew how to say it, but I didn't have any of the results. And that moment when it transitioned where I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to do this every single day. I'm going to apply it to the fullest extent. The moment you start doing all the steps, they work. That's why other people use them as well. And so really Live It became one of those monumental philosophies that kicked in. And the moment it did, everything changed. My health changed, my emotions changed, my relationship changed, my business grew, like everything. The other piece is, as you're going out and taking crazy amounts of action and really living what it is that you're doing, the piece is pay forward. Find a way to pay forward. And we came up with a cool little philosophy, which is learn it. Find people that can be your mentors that you can learn from, live it, fully apply all that you're learning, and have a peer group that you can hold accountable and keep you on track with, and then give it. Find people you can pay forward what's working for you in hopes that some of it might work for them. And it's not perfect formula, but it's like, hey, here's what works for me. Take it, take what you want. Hopefully it works for you and can help you get the results you want.
I like that. And so that's going to summarize the knowledge around there. And Jairek, what's exciting you today? Like, what is it that you're looking forward to?
So many stuff. I mean, I have an amazing wife. Today is actually the day we met a couple of years ago. So it's a special day for us and a special moment, but I have an absolutely incredible wife. We have an amazing life. We have a retreat that goes on every year where we take people on crazy adventures and philanthropy and personal development type trips, where we get to like snowboard active volcanoes and build houses and schools for people hands-on. It's awesome. And what excites me, I guess, is introducing more people to those trips and taking them with us and really enjoying every moment of the growth.
Yeah, I like that. Sounds really, really exciting. And guys listening, you guys can follow up with Jairek Robbins you can Google his name. You can go to Amazon and check out his book, Live It. But Jairek is spelled Jairek, and then Robbins, put that in Google. You'll get right to him. All of his contact social media profiles are there. And Jairek, it's been an honor having you here on the show and sharing your story and life lessons here with my community.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.